Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builder Supply. This video is to bring you a closer look at the Soss number 204CUS10BL. The 204 is the hinge. It's the size of the hinge. The C means carded. That's how they package this part number. The US10BL, that's going to be your oil-rubbed bronze lacquered. Now, just to make clear immediately, this hinge is priced and sold per hinge. The factory is only going to sell these in sets of 2 or carded in sets of 2 or pairs. We sell them and price them per hinge. Why? Well, what if you needed 3? You could. We do it so that we don't force you to buy 4 is the bottom line. So be mindful. Just because there are 2 in a package doesn't mean we're not going to cut 1 out and ship you 3. So sold per hinge. Priced per hinge. If you order 2, we're going to send you 1 card that has 2 hinges on it. Okay. Now, moving past that, let's talk about a 204. The Soss line of hinges is a nifty line of hinges. I'm a big fan. I have used them to great impact on projects, and unfortunately, they're not used often enough, in my opinion. Why is that? Well, because it's a very elegant hinge. It does pose some complications, or it can, in terms. We'll talk about that in a moment. But the Soss Invisible Hinge series is really great because you don't see the hardware at all. That would be a tremendous asset to this hinge line. Okay. Another tremendous asset to the hinge line, I have for sure seen it written somewhere by an engineer or maybe the owner of Soss several decades ago. It basically said the quote was, "I don't care how heavy your door is, just throw more Soss hinges onto it, it'll handle the door." And we have used Soss hinges to great effect when using, or hanging, I should say, heavy doors. Because this is a 204. The 204 is going to be intended for doors that are basically 3/4 inch, not really heavy. Well, if you've got an 1 3/4 thick door or a 2-inch thick door and it's 400 pounds, yeah, you're going to need a bigger Soss hinge. But the point of the matter is, you're not going to hang a hinge like that on butt hinges. So the 204 is literally representative of the size. The bigger the part number, 210, 212, 216, 218, 220, the bigger the hinge. The smaller the part number, the smaller the hinge. So when you're talking about Soss, the first thing you need to say, okay, how thick is the door? That's really the first thing. Weight is important, but weight is the second question that comes to mind, because you can then determine, okay, how many Soss hinges do I need for that door thickness? So client says, I've got 3/4 inch doors that I'm building, custom furniture. I need to be able to hide the hardware. Great, Soss is just ringing in your head immediately. How heavy are the doors? Not real heavy, probably no more than 15 pounds. Okay, well that's going to be simple for a pair of these. Or the client might say, yeah, you know, we're really thinking about the doors because of what we're applying to the door. It might be 55 pounds. Okay, I'm thinking 3 hinges in that sort of regard. There is information down below. Sold. You've got to buy them. You've got to buy them in multiples. You can buy them in any multiple that you like. Speaking about the order multiple, if you do need an odd number, you may need to reach out to us because the site may only allow multiples of 2 to be ordered. If you need an odd number, just reach out and we'll be able to enter the order for you. So it can be used on wood or metal doors. This is going to include only wood fasteners. If you are dealing with a metal application, reach out to us, and we're going to have to try to get our hands on some machine screws from the factory for you. Minimum thickness is 3/4 inch. You can use a thicker door, it's not a problem, but the minimum is the important part. You can't exceed the thickness of what the you can't get beyond its minimum requirement. You're not going to fit this hinge physically into a door that's 5/8 or 1/2 inch. It just won't fit. Soft wood pilot hole, hardwood pilot hole. They're telling you the drill size to use to pre-drill the hole for the screws. Drills are imperial size. They're fractional sizes. You, of course, have metric drill sizes, I imagine. I'm not familiar with it, but you know, 3/32 of an inch, 1/8 of an inch, 1/16. They're giving you the drill size, meaning the sized drill. Drills are available in sets as sized numbers. They are far more incrementally available for a specific exact size when you're talking about drill sizes. The density of the wood, whether it be a hardwood or a softwood species, will change. And how you're going to drill that hole is going to be dependent on the type of wood that you're going into, assuming it's wood. You'll want to have the right size. Most people are going to convert that to their closest fractional size and be done with it. I own a drill sized set of drill bits, and that's what I would use. I like to have the absolute proper control over the size of hole that I'm drilling. Now, there is below this video a manufacturer's original video, which is neat to watch. There is also there is an image down below showing 3 different perspectives of the hinge, giving you the dimensions of everything that is important on this hinge. But go right to the cut sheet, because that will, I think, in a more elegant fashion, give you all of the sizes that you need. And the most important thing to really understand with Soss hinges is that you observe the hinge back set, okay, or the door clearance. So the point of the matter is, what's important is that you review those important dimensional properties, meaning upper left-hand corner it says 1/8 of an inch. If exceeded, the door may not open. So they're giving you the dimension of, let's call it the hinge back set. I would call it the hinge back set. Actually, I wouldn't call it the hinge back set there, but think of it as the face of the door on the pull side to the inside face of the hinge. If that dimension is greater than 1/8 of an inch, the problem is going to be that the door is not going to get out far enough because you've got this other material applied to it. So you have to be mindful that that is exactly what you're maintaining when you mortise everything. And yes, the dimensions seem to be all jammed in there, but the important thing is don't exceed 1/8 of an inch, and then don't exceed a 7/64 of an inch clearance when the door and the frame are brought parallel to each other, open at 180 degrees. And then from there, you'll be able to work backwards in terms of the rest of the dimensions, because you've already got 2 of them for sure. And then you can go to that 23/64 of an inch dimension, which is basically going to be that space right inside of there. You're going to have your overall height, 2 3/8. You're going to have your 1 7/8, which is, at this moment, I think less important. The 2 3/8 is important. The 1 1/4 is important. And here's why. Once you determine exactly where you're going to space that hinge, you're going to do 2 preparations. You're going to prep that body, which is 1 1/4 tall, and you're going to do it to the thickness of the hinge. And I don't know that they're actually giving that to us here. Well, they are. It's going to be the same width of the hinge, which is going to be a 1/2 inch. Let's get this tape measure out here and start taking a look. 1/2 inch body thickness, indeed. 2 3/8 overall height, yeah, that's for sure. 1 1/4. I'd say that would be a bit heavy on what's required, but that would certainly, no, it's actually spot on. So what I'm trying to say is, when you're going to prep this hinge, you're going to figure out where it's going to be placed in the edge of the door. You'll do 2 preparations. 1 1/4 long, 1/2 inch wide. That will get you, oh, and then of course the depth. You're going to need to go to 3/4 inch deep is what I can tell. Then you're going to need to prep for your depth of the hinge. Now what I've prepped there is only the body portion. Then readjust your router and then do only the face portion, which will be 2 3/8, 1/2 inch, and then the thickness of the hinge leaf itself, which they give at 1/4 inch. Okay. I like to do the deep portion first so that when I'm routing that, I have less, I don't do the face portion, the finished portion, the part you see first, because when I'm doing the body prep, I don't want to damage my nice preparation when I'm, removing the router, basically. So I'll always do the deepest portion in that fashion and work out towards the edge of the door. They do indicate the special order 832 by 5/8 machine screws. You'll certainly need to order those. In a, you're doing a finish like this, you're going to need the proper finish on the hinge. So the preparation looks intimidating. And the first time you try it, you might not be sure till you actually see it works, but it works. Now, let's... that template is 20 years old. That hinge has not changed. So you understand the machining aspect to it. You understand how to go about prepping for it. There's a link below this video to the manufacturer's page where you can review not only all of the Soss products that we sell, but a link to the manufacturer's website, but a link to the full product catalog, which is interesting, and by all means review that. What I want to draw your attention to is the nomograph, the Soss usage chart nomograph. That item is going to allow you to determine how many hinges to, which hinge to use, and how many of those hinges that you will use. So you're going to place a point on the scale of door width. Indicate that. You'll place another point, and I just lay my tape measure, a straight edge really, on the computer screen. Then the weight, and then you draw a straight line across, and that's how you're going to get into which hinge that you're going to use. So obviously for this client, they're dealing with a small, light door to get you down to that 204 sort of range. The point of the matter is, I don't even think you can get the nomograph. You can't get the nomograph to even go there, but the truth of the matter is you need at least 2 hinges to hang the door. But it gives you the information necessary when you get into heavier material or where you will require more hinge to hang based on the door that you're working on. That nomograph is important when you're getting into the heavier material. We've done projects where it was a shopping mall and they had a heavy gauge steel door and its frame, and it was going to be faced in the same stone that the rest of the wall was being faced in. So we had to make sure that the hinge was rated for the proper total weight, door plus everything else that would be applied to it. But then also we had to work out what would be our hinge back set to make sure that this door would swing not only to 90 degree, but get out a little bit further and even take it to the point that said, okay, this door is going to swing only to a certain degree because we needed to severely reduce that hinge back set dimension so that we could achieve a door that would swing further open. So all of that needs to be thought out if you're doing an unusual application. Now, complicate things I had mentioned earlier. What would complicate your installation of a Soss hinge? Well, first of all, a little hinge... Glad it wasn't made of glass. A little hinge like this is going to require a depth. So if you've got a mortise 3/4 inch deep, is that going to work in a typical rabbited frame? You're going to punch through the back side of the frame, certainly. So be mindful of that. You can get to a situation where you've prepped the door and frame for the material, a wood frame. The guy calls you from the job site, says, yeah, I can't get my hinge in. Well, I prepped it correct. I fit the hinges before I shipped it to you. I know they fit. Yeah, but it's hitting the stud, the stud of the opening. Okay. You have a fly bit? So you have to, realize that sometimes the depth is a problem. Not on these small hinges, but your bigger hinges, your 216, your 218, your 220. That's going to require some thinking. So how much room you're going to need to get into. Then, if we're looking at the hinge in cross section, this is closed. Okay, this is closed, but we really can't demonstrate my point by doing this. I'm going to rotate it this way. If you focus only on the rivet that's holding it all together, all those laminated pieces. If you have a door hung on butt hinges or pivots, either center hung or offset, that vertical axis of pivoting is a plumb straight line. Well, this is a plumb straight line as well, except that it floats as the door goes through the open and closing cycle. So the point of that is when you do any sort of work for templating hardware, especially overhead stops, which was mandatory for that project at the mall where we had to limit it. Otherwise, we're going to crack the applied masonry stone off the face of the door or the frame. That has to be compensated in terms of where you place everything. So if you're doing overhead stops, I did a residential project where the client did all Soss hinges, ordered all of these stops, and it has to be reviewed by the factory, because what you would use in terms of a part number for a door stop or a door stop and holder for a size X, that is going to possibly change when you go with a Soss type hinge, Soss or Tectus. That all has to be evaluated, because that vertical axis of pivoting, while it's always hopefully it's plumb, it floats. So be mindful of that. That will cause. I've had people call up, yeah, the door kind of binds a little bit. Okay, your overhead stop is not working correctly. The door binds when I get out to a certain degree. Okay, yeah, I sold you the overhead stop. Tell me all about the door. Yeah, it's a wood door, the whole 9 yards. I got it from my pre-hanger. Okay, what kind of hinges do you have? Oh, no, these aren't hinges. These are Soss. Did you get a special template? No, I did not. That's why. Because a small amount of adjustment is crucial to getting this to work well. And when it's templated correctly, it works perfectly. I'm a huge fan of Soss because it's elegant, it's concealed, you don't have to worry about it in terms of maintenance, and everything can be accommodated in terms of the hinge itself. So I am a fan of this material. The manufacturer's catalog is very much worthwhile looking at. They also have some self-closing possibilities on this hinge. You can buy a 218 with a spring, with a closer on it, a 220 as well, I think a 216, which is neat. We've done a salon in the in the Gold Coast of Chicago. Had maybe 15 doors, and 10 of them were going to be salon doors, and they wanted them all to be self-closing. That Soss closer is a really big modification to the wall. You've got to prep a lot of work to make that happen, but it's an elegant way to, in a very concealed fashion, close the material. So the hallmark of Soss is concealment, can handle heavy weight. They can also do fire-rated stuff as well, and that can all be reviewed in their catalog. If you have any questions on the Soss, number 204CUS10BL or any other Soss product, please feel free to reach out to us. And thank you.